Hello and welcome to part 2 of cell information. Today we are going to be reviewing the parts of the cell, their jobs, and then those awesome clues and hints that we talked about yesterday. So when we practice with these note cards, it's important that we're thinking about those clues. It's not essential that you quote exactly what's on the card, but that you have the knowledge in your head to be able to answer the question however it's worded and to be able to use that knowledge to talk about those parts with your friends, to draw those parts, label them, and just be able to do it in your own words. It's not all about that book definition. As long as you have the concept, everything will be fine. So let's go over a few of the parts and review them before we play our games today. So the first part I want to review is the nucleus. And yesterday I told you guys that that was the boss of the cell. It is known as the control center. That's the scientific term for it. And it controls all of the cell's activities. So the nucleus is in both the plant and animal cell because they both need that control center to regulate all the activities. And we do have to remember one thing about the nucleus. Its shape. That will help us when we're trying to recognize it or draw it. So I'd like for you now to draw with me the shape of the nucleus. It is a circle. Let's do it one more time. So now that we've got the nucleus, let's move on to the next part to review. Let's talk about the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is like the blood of the cell. And remember, like I told you yesterday, without the blood of the cell, the parts would not be able to stay in place. They would all plunk to the bottom. So it is the jelly-like substance that holds all of the parts of the cell together where they need to be, and it protects those parts. It's kind of like a wall of insulation around them to make sure that nothing bumps into them or knocks them out of place. So the cytoplasm, remember I told you was that gel-like stuff or the blood of the cell, is going to be found in both the plant and the animal cell. So without the cytoplasm, the parts would not be protected. So the cytoplasm is the second part that we will review today. The third part we're going to talk about is the vacuole. The vacuole, if you remember, is like the vacuum. It sucks up that food, water, and waste. Think about the vacuum cleaner. Think about that. The vacuum holds and stores all that waste that's on the ground. So the vacuole is going to do the same thing. There is one big vacuole in the plant cell. And then there are multiple little vacuoles in the animal cell. In the plant cell, it's a big blob. But in the animal cells, it's little baby circles. So vacuole, think vacuum, and that's the large part that holds the food, water, and the waste. The next part we're going to review is the mitochondria. Stop for a moment and say that with me. Mitochondria. Good job. So the mitochondria is the energy powerhouse, and it gives the cell its energy, and it gives the parts their abilities to do what they need to do. Without the mitochondria, the cell would be like this. How would the cell be? Like, you got it. So the mitochondria, if you remember, is an oval-like shape. So I'd like for you to watch how I draw it. And now I want you to do it. One more time. Awesome. So the mitochondria is in both the plant and the animal cell. So don't forget. The next part we're going to talk about is the chloroplast. The chloroplasts are found in only the plant cell because the plant cell has to make its own food. So it has to have a mini kitchen. And so the chloroplast is the mini kitchen. It is green because it's filled with chlorophyll. Think about filled, chlorophyll. Works great. So in the chloroplast, this is where the plant cell makes its food when it gets its energy from the sun. And that, we're going to talk about next week, is photosynthesis. So the chloroplast is like a little oval, and it's got little dots in it. and it's always green. This is only found in the plant cell, don't forget. Let's take a moment and draw the chloroplast in the air. Great job. Okay, the next part we're going to talk about, cell wall. Remember I told you, how are the walls in your bedroom? They're like this. Well, that wasn't a very good rectangle. Let's try it again. Got it. The cell wall is the outer layer of the plant cell, and it gives it its support and protection. Now, it does have cell membrane, but the cell wall is that extra protection around the plant cell. The animal cell does not have a cell wall. And think about the shape. The animal cell is circular, and most of the time you don't have circular walls, unless you're at Holston View. So that is an exception to the rule. The next part we're going to talk about is the cell membrane. The cell membrane is the outer layer in the animal cell and the second to outer layer in the plant cell. It controls what goes in and out of the cell. So it stops the things from coming in that they don't want to come in and allows the things to come in that do need to come in. So the cell membrane is in both the plant and the animal cell. And this is a very important part because without it, things could get into the cell that don't need to be or out of the cell that don't need to get out. So without the cell membrane, we would be in trouble. Take just a moment and draw the cell membrane for me in the air. Awesome. Now that we've reviewed, it's your time to have some fun. We are going to act out the parts of the cell. When I say this, I mean you're going to get into a small group and you are going to each be a part of the cell that we have studied. When you take this role on, take it seriously, be creative, and really come alive. We really want to get that idea of the part and understand what its function or job is. You can even create your own props. I'm going to give you about 20 minutes, and when you finish, we're going to regroup and present our skits. It is very important that you work as a team. Without teamwork, the skit won't come together the way it should. So, get ready, gather your supplies, and let's get going.